and final storyteller is Matthew Dix.
Thank you. Sitting on the hearth of a plastic plug-in fireplace. It's fantastic. I love this thing. If I wasn't 7, I would probably recognize it as the architectural monstrosity that it is, but for me, it's beautiful. It has a faux wooden hearth on top, and it's got silver picture frames, and in each of these frames are the photos that were originally in the frame when my mother bought them in the first place. She's promised me that she's going to put our photos in those frames someday, but even at 7, I know that requires my mother buying film and taking a picture and going down to the little hut in the middle of the parking lot outside the grocery store and leaving the film there for days, and then finding the money to come back and remembering to come back and getting the film. So I know in my heart it's not going to happen. And I spend my childhood looking at these people that are more beautiful than anyone I live with. But I still love this fireplace. My house is cold, our furnace is broken, and I don't know what that means at 7, except that it means I'm always cold and my parents are fighting, and they fight mostly about money now. And so the fireplace, it's fake, but it's got some plastic like fire that when you press the button, it turns orange, and a little bit of heat kicks out of the bottom, like not enough to warm a room, but to give the sense of a fire. So I sit on the hearth to stay warm. I'm playing with a Matchbox car, and I have a penny in my mouth. I have a penny in my mouth because I'm 7, and when you're 7 and you're a boy, like your mouth is a third hand. Anything that can go in this hand or this hand also goes in the mouth. So I've got a penny and I'm flicking it around with my tongue when I swallow it. And it gets stuck right here for just a second, but it feels like a universe of time. And then I cough and it goes all the way down. And I panic because I have just swallowed metal. And so I stand up to call for my mom. And then I realize I can't call for my mom because my parents are fighting all the time. And every time I bring them a problem, it's bigger than the problems they already have. And they fight about money, and this actually is technically a money problem as well. Like, it's a penny, but it is related. And so I'm worried about poisoning, first of all. Like, is the metal gonna poison me? So I run to the den. We have a set of encyclopedias, Funkin' Wagnalls, A through M only, because my mother was buying them at the grocery store one at a time until we ran out of money. So I wish there was a P for penny, but I know pennies are made of copper, so I go for the C, and I look up copper, and I'm 7. I don't read that well, but I can read the word poison, so I skim it looking for the word poison, and I don't find it, so I'm not going to be poisoned. But now I'm worried what's going to happen to this penny. Like, is it going to sit there or is it going to move on? And like, I'm only 7, but I know that if it gets stuck, like that is not going to be a good situation for me. And so I'm wondering if my butt is big enough to poop out this penny. So I look, but you can't. And so I'm frozen, like wondering, is my butt big enough to poop out a penny? And I don't know how to find this out until I realize I have a brother. He's Jeremy, and he's 1 year younger than me. And I've never really looked at his butt before, and I don't want him to know why I'm looking at the butt, but I need to look at his butt, because if it's big enough for a penny, mine's definitely going to be big enough for a penny. So we take baths together on Sundays. So I say, I don't usually see his butt in the bathtub, but I figure I can wrestle him, flip him over, and like get a look without him knowing why I'm looking. But I'm 7, so I don't know what day of the week it is, so I run to the dining room because we have a cloth calendar on the wall, and on the cloth calendar I see that it's Tuesday, and that's 5 days. And I don't know how long it takes for things to pass, but that feels like a long time. And so I'm frozen now in my dining room thinking there should be an adult in my life who can tell me if my butt is big enough to poop out a penny. And I'm pissed that there isn't. Like, there just should be a responsible person. And then I realize there is. And so I go to the phone, I pick up the phone, and I dial 0. Because in the 1980s, when you dial 0, you get an operator, an actual human being. And my family has learned to use this as a precursor to the internet. When we're fighting about things like who is the vice president or like who's on Mount Rushmore, we call the operator, because it's usually a woman, and they usually have information that we don't have, particularly if it's after M, because we only have those first encyclopedias. And so we've called for everything. Like, is the Loch Ness Monster real? We called for that once. And I realized that is a adult. I'm gonna call and I get a woman on the phone. I dial and she answers and I say, what has happened? I swallowed a penny and I can't ask my parents for help. Can you tell me, like, is it gonna get stuck or will it eventually go through? And I don't remember everything that she says to me, but I remember the first 2 words. She says, oh, honey. And then she tells me that it's gonna pass and everything will be fine. But I wanna tell her everything is not going to be fine. Because my house is cold and I am always cold. And there's a mantle with a family who I don't know. And I have parents and all they do is fight. And every time I need help with a homework assignment or I need help with currency in my digestive tract, I go to a phone and I call a stranger, and that's where I get my answers from. And they are my lifeline. And truly, for a very long time, I dial 0, and that is where I find help. Thank you.